I think, I guess where I had started, because I was relatively ignorant of music and Cornish music, my thoughts had started with sort of traditional folk music. And we did find a couple of bits associated with the folk scene in publications. One of them was the oxen ploughing.
Mm-hmm. That had been collected and was housed in the English Folk Dance and Song Society's archive.
The version that had been collected was from a Joe Chenoweth from the Roseland, and it was incomplete. But as with all folk music sort of travels. Different communities make it their own, change it, and it becomes their own local thing. And the thing with the oxen ploughing is that there are lots of versions from elsewhere, including other places in Cornwall. So, we did some research work on the other versions of the song, and we were able to sort of come up with some thoughts on what it may have looked like. And then we were able to give it to a talented composer and musician called Martha Wood, who then completed it for us and performed it.
For he is the lad with the work along the plough. Oh, it's the little plough boy that sings in the morn. With his up along, jump along, he guides the plough along to pretty sparkle berry, good luck, speed well cherry. For he is the lad that can work along the plough. For he is the lad that can work along the plough. For he is the lad that can work along the plough.
So that was a lovely part of the project, to take an archive piece and have it reworked and reimagined. And that was the second. Well, there was another memory day. The second musical event was in late April as part of the Roseland Festival, and they let us have an event in St Mawes Parish Hall.
Yeah, the Memorial Hall in St Mawes.
In St Mawes, where we had Du Hagawa, the shanty group that Never was just talking about. We had a Cornish Troil, which is an evening of music and dance. So we had a Splan Ceilidh band come down and call some Cornish dances, which marvellously also included the Porthscatho Furry as part of this Troil. And Martha performed. She gave the premiere of the Roseland version of the oxen ploughing, which was rather marvellous.
Yeah, and there was a parallel example, because also in one of the old Cornwall journals was another folk song collected from the Roseland, which was the herring song. And again, it was incomplete, but again, the same process. You can find versions of this song elsewhere, including quite a lot from northeast England. So the song, again, we gave to Martha, and she was able to piece it back together and sing it again at this Troil. So there were two bits of folk music that were only there in the documents, in the archives, that we were able to give a new lease of life to through the project. And Martha then included both of those in one of her new CDs. So that was a really lovely thing to do. One of the interesting things that we did as a part of the project was that we held a memory day at the Heritage Centre in Gerrans, where we invited people from the community to come in and share their memories and their knowledge of music on the Roseland. And we invited another one of our collaborators, Mr. Chris Trevina, to come along and do some recording on that occasion, which was something that was really successful. But yeah, we sort of structured that day. We invited several people to come along at certain times throughout the day, so that we had people dropping in, and also we invited people to just drop in. And of course, I find that what's critically important with these things is providing copious amounts of tea and cake. And I think that makes these things work so much better.
Yeah.
But we had people coming in with bags of material, compositions. And one of the people that we met on that day was Yvonne Fuller from St Mawes, who brought in works that she had composed based on poetry, that we've got in the collection that we must think about doing something more with at some point. But also what she was able to tell us about was the fact that she had a small carol group, small carol choir called the St Mawes Waits that performed annually at the Tresanton Hotel in St Mawes. And also she was able to tell us about her involvement with the Sands Day Carol, which was lovely because the Sands Day Carol is a carol that's sort of native to Cornwall as far as we can tell. It's first recorded in Cornwall. But Yvonne was telling us that in the 1970s she had performed this carol up in the home counties, and she had learnt it in the Cornish language, having been sent copies by her aunt in Polperro. And then in the 1980s she had moved to St Mawes, and that she and her choir had continued to perform it in St Mawes and St Just in the Cornish language since then. So again, we had this Cornish language song, this carol that had become part of a local tradition in the Roseland, and it was those sort of stories that came out as a result of that memory day that we probably wouldn't have collected if we didn't do that.
No, and having it an informal day where it was very relaxed and people could chat and remind each other of things, and bring up things that they probably wouldn't have thought qualified as music of the Roseland, but nevertheless were really important. So it was Elsie who talked to us about doing carol tours, wasn't it? Visiting different houses and going across the fields at night to sing carols, which is just a house visiting custom, which is lovely to know that there was on the Roseland. It doesn't surprise me that there's one there, but it's lovely to have it talked about and remembered by someone that could tell us. Yeah,
and one of the things that Elsie brought in, Elsie's associated with the combined chapel at Porthscatho, and she brought in a poem by a lady that we didn't know about before, or I didn't know about, and it led to a whole area of research about this lady.